Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Please welcome the CEO of the Climate Group, Helen Clarkson.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's session on healthy energy systems. I'm really excited to be welcoming you here. It's been a lot of work to get to this point, and it's really great to be here and be talking about these important issues. So we've got 3 packed sessions for you this afternoon, exploring all aspects of this topic. We've got a great range of speakers, and they're going to be making some big announcements. So looking forward to a really exciting afternoon. But first, I just wanted to talk about what we mean by healthy energy systems. At the Climate Group, our mission is to accelerate climate action. And we're focused on systems where energy is clean, 100% renewable, and where all transport from passenger to heavy vehicle to public transport is zero emissions, and where the benefit of that change are felt by people in terms of better prosperity, access to energy and transport, and better public health outcomes like clean air. The energy system is currently undergoing its most radical transformation in over 2 centuries as we start to wean ourselves off fossil fuels and move to a future that's based on renewable energy, new storage technologies, electric mobility, and smart grids. But we know we've got to go further, faster. We've seen some great leadership from California this week. We've seen the energy bill committing them to 100% renewable energy. We've seen the governor's own commitment to carbon neutrality by 2045. And that's great. And at this summit, I'm sure you've been hearing all morning, and you'll continue to hear commitments from businesses and government leaders from right across the world making similar commitments and saying that they too will step up. But we need more. If we're going to peak emissions by 2020, if we're going to get to net zero by 2050, and that's what this afternoon is all about. So in the first hour, we'll be hearing about almost 400 states, cities, and businesses globally that have made 100% renewable energy commitments, including the 140 global businesses in the Climate Group's RE100 campaign that have committed to 100% renewable electricity. And this week, we welcomed a new joiner to that, Sony, who announced that they're going to go to 100% renewable electricity, right from the manufacture of their PlayStations to the movie production they do here in California. So that's very exciting. In the second hour, we'll be hearing the latest from our ZEV Challenge. It's a commitment to zero-emission vehicles and the associated charging infrastructure. And today, 26 new states, cities, and businesses have joined this group and committed to 100% ZEV targets. They represent a population of over 122 million people, and you're going to hear from a number of those committing this afternoon. And then finally, in the last session, we'll be talking about the next frontier in energy transitions, focusing on the biggest industrial players and heavy-duty transport. These are really difficult to decarbonize sectors, so it's a really important topic. But we'll be hearing about how leadership, innovation, and technology are starting to make a real difference there. So it's a lot to cover. We'll go straight into it. Our first session is called Our Clean and Renewable Future, and I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Wang Chenqi, who's the Director General of Jiangsu Environmental Protection Bureau. Thank you.
各位嘉宾、女士们、先生们，大家下午好，我是来自中国江苏省环保厅的王天琪。
Guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Jiangsu Province of China, the Director General of Jiangsu EPD.
江苏是加州的友好省州，地处中国东部沿海长三角地区，面积10.72万平方公里，人口8000多万。2017年实现地区生产总值1.27万亿美元，是中国经济增长最快、开放程度最高、发展活力最强的地区之一。
Jiangsu, a sister province of California, is located in the Yangtze River Delta in East China's coastal area. It covers a land area of 107.2 thousand square kilometers and houses a population of 80 million. In the year 2017, its GDP reached USD 1.27 trillion. Jiangsu is one of China's regions with the fastest economic growth, the highest level of opening up to the outside world, and the most dynamic development.
江苏是能源消费大省，却是能源资源小省，人均用能基数大，环境承载力弱，对外依存度高，传统清洁能源相对匮乏，目前仍然以煤炭消费为主。
As a big energy consumer, Jiangsu is a small producer of energy and resources. It is plagued by such problems as high per capita energy consumption, weak environmental carrying capacity, high dependence on external energy and resources, and shortage of traditional clean energy. And at present, Jiangsu still takes coal as its major source of energy.
近年来，我们致力于推动绿色循环、低碳发展。 能源消费结构、供给结构持续优化，清洁利用水平不断提升。2017年以来，非化石能源消费占比提高到9.4%左右，天然气使用量达230亿立方米，规模居全国第一。
In recent years, we have remained committed to promoting green, circular, and low-carbon development, improving the structure of energy consumption and supply, and continuously impending the use of clean energy. Since the year 2017, we have cut consumption by 17.45 million tons. Long-fossil fuel energy accounts for 9.4% of coal energy consumption. Natural gas consumption reaches 23 billion cubic meters, #1 in China.
清洁能源占全省装机总容量的32.9%。 大型燃煤机组全部达到了燃气电厂环保排放标准。2017年，电力行业削减二氧化硫3.67万吨，氮氧化物6.16万吨。
Installed capacity of power generation from green energy take up 32.9% of total installed capacity across the province. Large-scale coal-fired power plants in Jiangsu or meet emission standards of gas-fired power plants. In the year 2017, the electrical industry cut emission of sulfur dioxide and NOx by 36.7 thousand tons and 61.6 thousand tons, respectively.
面向未来，我们将认真落实创新、协调、绿色、开放、共享的发展理念。 通过科技创新和体制机制创新，大力实施优化产业结构、构建低碳能源体系、发展绿色建筑和低碳交通等一系列政策措施，让人人享有充足、清洁、廉价、高效、便捷的能源供应，为经济社会发展提供不竭的动力。
Looking forward, we will implement the new development philosophy of innovative, coordinated, green, open, and shared development. Promote technological and institutional innovation, and energetically adopt a series of policies and measures to optimize industry structure, build a low-carbon energy system, and facilitate the development of green building and low-carbon transport. By doing so, we aim to make everybody have access to sufficient, clean, affordable, efficient, and convenient energy supply, and thus provide inexhaustible drive to economic and social development.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Dr. Aparna Bol, who is the co-chair of the Healthcare Without Harm Board and division chief of the General Academic Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine at UH Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital. Dr. Aparna.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure and privilege to be here with you today and to help frame this incredibly important discussion that we're going to be having around advancing renewable and clean energy as really a discussion that's about advancing public health. As a pediatrician, I understand the imperative to transform toward a clean energy future as essentially a public health imperative. It's specifically, to me, a child health imperative. Kids in Cleveland, Ohio, where I live and practice, have their health affected by air pollution caused by fossil fuel combustion every single day. The smokestacks in the image on the left there are from a coal-fired power plant in eastern Ohio. In fact, eastern Ohio is at the epicenter of coal-fired power plant pollution in the United States. We also have significant air pollution from vehicular exhaust, given the nexus of highways in our region and the relatively car-dependent culture that we have in the Midwest. As I said, air pollution from fossil fuel combustion affects the health of my patients every day. For example, particulate air pollution from coal-fired power plants can cause and exacerbate chronic lung conditions like asthma, contribute to morbidity from cardiovascular disease, contribute to premature birth and low birth weight, and can also contribute to neurocognitive toxicity. 1 out of 5 of my patients suffer from asthma. That's twice the prevalence of pediatric asthma nationwide and reflects the fact that African American and Latino children suffer disproportionately from asthma in Cleveland and in communities around this country. I think of patients like one I saw earlier this summer, a young boy with asthma who also happens to be overweight, and we had been talking about eating healthy and encouraging him to get out and get exercise. And it was summertime, and I was really celebrating the fact that he had joined a sports team. I was doing a sports physical with this little boy, and I had to, I said, great, I'm so glad you're gonna be outside playing, but I had to tell him, you gotta check the air quality advisories, because on poor air quality days, I need you to stay inside, because it's risky for you to be outside playing on days like that. What a grave injustice to this little boy, that he can't be a kid, be outside playing every day in the summertime because we have failed to ensure that he has clean and safe air to breathe. So for me, this problem is local, but it's also a global problem. As we know, the global impacts of air pollution cause millions of premature deaths every year. In addition to the immediate air pollution impacts of fossil fuel combustion is, of course, the root cause of climate change, which The Lancet has described as the greatest public health threat of the 21st century, or put another way, to act on climate being the greatest public health opportunity of our time. The health effects of climate change are far-reaching, from extreme weather events like heat, extreme precipitation and storms, drought and wildfire risks, worsened air quality, changing patterns of infectious disease, displacement of populations, mental health effects, harm to the security of our food systems. The prognosis of these ills is very poor indeed if we continue on our current trajectory. There's good news, though, and that is that there is a prescription for a cure to these ills, and that prescription is a transition to clean and renewable energy. And that is why policies advancing clean energy should be understood as essentially public health measures. That's how we need to be explaining these. We need to be understanding clean energy policies when we communicate as policymakers, as educators, as advocates with our stakeholders. We need to be explaining that clean energy policies are essentially public health policies. The health sector has a unique opportunity and obligation, therefore, to lead on climate action. For a few reasons. First, the health sector is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change. Second, health organizations are essential components of climate resilience, as preserving access to health care is essential to planning for resilience. We have a moral imperative and a platform in the health sector for leadership and advocacy because we are a trusted voice and health is our mission. As a Healthcare Without Harm board member, I'm seeing health organizations around the world live up to their mission and embrace their leadership role on climate action by committing to reducing their carbon footprint, by contributing to climate resilience in their communities, and by leading and advocating around climate action, as you saw this morning. In the lead up to the Global Climate Action Summit, a growing number of hospitals and health systems are making commitments to 100% renewable energy. In fact, today I'm just delighted to announce that 18 organizations representing the interests of over 1,200 hospitals and health centers in 10 countries have made commitments to 100% renewable energy in their facilities. To give you a sense of a scale of what that means, these hospitals collectively serve about 23 million patients per year and will be powered by more than 3 billion kilowatt hours of renewable energy every year. Hospitals making these commitments are from diverse countries, developed and developing, from the US to Morocco, from Spain to Sweden, from Nepal to New Zealand. These hospitals have in common that they rely on a steady source of energy to treat their patients, so embracing innovative off-the-grid solutions like on-site renewable energy generation, including solar installations. These measures create greater energy security and healthcare access in some of the neediest places in the world. The carbon-intensive healthcare supply chain is also beginning to do its part, with large medical device and healthcare product corporations like Johnson & Johnson and Philips committing to 100% renewable energy. These new commitments from health organizations are just the beginning. Our goal at Healthcare Without Harm is to decarbonize the health sector, to advance public health and health equity. We're helping to lead a movement in healthcare, including doctors, nurses, public health workers, hospitals, ministries of health, the World Health Organization. We're all joining on the front lines of this battle to protect public health from climate change. The movement is global, but for me, this gives me hope for the kids in my own backyard, the kids I take care of in my practice. It gives me hope for that child with asthma who can't always play outside. My responsibility to the kids I take care of isn't limited by the walls of my clinic or our 15-minute visit. Promoting child health means protecting a healthy environment and a healthy climate. And that's why I'm especially proud to have been able to share and celebrate the health sector's growing commitment to living its mission through climate action and committing to a clean and renewable energy future. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Eileen Rockefeller-Growold from the Growold Family Fund to make another announcement.
It's an honor to stand before you today as fellow advocates of the transformation to clean energy into the electricity sector. No single person can make this change any more than one termite can build a 10-foot tower. It's going to take all of us together. As a Rockefeller, I have been privileged to choose whatever I wanted to do in my life, and while I've started other organizations in the fields of mind-body health and social and emotional learning, the issue of climate change is foundational to everything else. In 2006, my husband Paul and I founded the Growold Family Fund. We wanted to find a niche where our philanthropy could make a measurable difference. So we focused on electricity, starting domestically and moving internationally. We have seen amazing results towards a clean energy future through collaboration with other foundations and nonprofit partners. I'm happy to share with you today that the results of our work have inspired us to make our largest contribution ever. We are pledging an additional $25 million to this effort. This is a significant amount for us, but it's obviously not nearly enough for the world. We hope you will join us in either actions or funds. At GFF, we operate from the head and the heart. And in closing, I would like to read you a poem I wrote from my heart. At least it will be a change from all the information you've heard, so maybe you just want to close your eyes. Surely If You Knew is the name of this poem. Surely if you knew there was a 20% chance of your airplane going down, you would choose another flight or drive. Surely if you knew your house would burn to the ground, sparked by record-breaking heat waves, 3rd year in a row, you would sell your land, if you could, and live elsewhere. Surely if you no longer had glaciers to show your grandchild, and if catching wild fish were a thing of the past, like lying in the grass without fear of lime-bearing ticks. Surely if stars were clouded by city lights from afar, and you could no longer point out the Big Dipper, you might hope your child could at least travel through your stories of seeing polar bears on ice floes and salmon leapfrogging upstream. Surely, if you hope to have grandchildren or you cherish memories as a child of catching fireflies, nightlights in a bottle, you will do something. Just as surely as if you had a run in your stocking, you would throw it out and buy another. But surely, if you saw the hole in the ozone, you would try to stitch it closed because you couldn't buy another planet. As surely as if you knew you couldn't breathe the air in the city you lived in and couldn't just pick up and leave. For surely it's not just about knowing we have a moral obligation to listen to the science of global warming, like we've all heard repeatedly since the 50s, if you were there, since the 50s when I was a child. We almost turned the corner in the 70s when Exxon knew and could have put morals above greed, when presidents from then on were briefed on the ugly truth and could have protected our future instead of their votes. But surely it will not be the facts that change us, nor our moral obligation for the sake of our descendants or the history books if there is still time to write them. It will be love. Loving the glistening dew bellies on morning grass, loving the breastfed baby lying in our lap, loving the incoming tide, reaching shore like outstretched hands, scratching at the walls around our hearts to let love in, to love ourselves and our children enough to care about each moment and each other despite our differences, to love, feeling their pain as ours, to feel the pain of the planet as our own skin. Surely, you know you will join me in loving it all, enough to change what you know to what you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that announcement, and thank you to all our speakers for opening a session with these exciting new commitments on 100% renewable energy. They're joining a global community of almost 400 companies, healthcare providers, cities, states, and regions who've made these 100% renewable energy targets. And this includes 144 major global companies. I mentioned Sony earlier, but also Tata Motors, Fujitsu, Dalmia Cement, who, when you aggregate them together, represent higher yearly electricity demand than Poland. And they've committed to 100% renewable electricity sourcing under RE100. And 230 states, regions, cities, and counties around the world who are leading a renewable energy shift in their jurisdictions and committing to 100% renewable power. And in this next session you see us setting up here, we're going to hear from governments and businesses who are leading this drive and discuss how they're achieving their ambitious goals. So I'd like to welcome to the stage the Honourable Shane Rattenbury, Minister for Climate Change and Sustainability from the Australian Capital Territory, Kahori Miyake, Executive Officer from Aeon Co., Erica Mackey, Co-founder and CEO of Grid Alternatives, Mayor Nanda Jishka, City of Nagpur Municipal Corporation, and the Honourable Veronica Geese, Secretary of State for Energy, Government of the Province of Santa Fe, Argentina. Welcome. Great. Welcome, all of you. So let's start by talking about why you've made these commitments. And if you could start, Veronica, why have you made the commitment to 100% renewable energy, and what progress have you made to date?
Okay, I will try in English. I'm sorry if it's not okay. Well, in Santa Fe province, we are committed with all the renewable energies because we think all what's happened about climate change is are signals about the living where we are living. So the The earth are telling us, you have to do this another way. There are other ways to do this, and not only in renewable energy, but all the production process. We have to rethink everything. It's time to move forward on thinking another systems, another ways to trade, another ways to approach this all the production systems. So that is why we take all the renewable energy, because like a main objective, because in Santa Fe we are a province with a lot of country, and that makes us a really bioenergy province. So that involves all aspects of production, from the growth of the plants to the waste and everything. So that is why we are really involved in bioenergy, because we are bioenergy in Argentina, especially in Santa Fe.
Thank you. And same question to you, Kahori. So from a business point of view, why have you made these commitments?
Thank you, Helen. First of all, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. Eon is a retailing company, a retailing group from Japan, and we operate general merchandise stores, supermarkets, shopping centers, and all that various retailing outlets. We have about 20,000 stores and outlets throughout Asian countries, which is 14 countries, with about $80 billion revenue per year. So in other words, we use a lot of electricity. And that's one of the reasons why we announced our RE100. We joined our RE100, and also we announced our decarbonization vision for 2050, and also an interim target for 2030. We're working towards that right now, but there's a long way to go in Japan, because one of the reasons is, as you know, Japan is not exactly the forerunner in terms of renewable energy field. So we decided that we come out and say we need somebody to supply us with renewable energies. We needed a strong message to come from the demand side of the business, so that people will hopefully it will stimulate the market, renewable market. And we use 7.4 gigawatt annually for the whole group, and that's 1% of the whole Japanese power consumption. So you can see how that impacts the electricity power companies, and hopefully it will start moving, and it will accelerate the shift towards the renewable energies. So far, we haven't really made any achievement yet, but the message that we are making is definitely coming through. And every week since we launched the announcement in March, every week I'm getting a contact or email, telephone calls about how they want to work with us, and they have new technologies, or they are willing to shift to renewables. They want to know how we do it and all that. So, which means I think in a way we've started, and our company's announcement have sort of started the discussion in Japan finally. So hopefully it'll go, and we'll see how it goes.
Great, thank you. And yes, that's the idea with RE100, is really to get this demand signal and to use that demand signal to shift the market and then to shift policy. So it's great to see that's kind of starting. So we've heard from a state, we've heard from a business. Mayor, we'd love to hear about your perspective from the city and why you've set those targets.
Thank you. First of all, I thank you that you have given me the opportunity to participate in this discussion. I have made as I'm mayor of Nagpur, and I have made that 100% renewable energy will be used in our city, because it's a nation's program also. And I feel that this is only the future. For that, we have to use renewable energy. In our country, the agriculture production is great, means it's a main profession of the India. So if we use the biodiesel, biofuel, then farmers will also get some economy from the waste of the agriculture product, because biofuel can be produced from this waste of the agriculture. Next thing is that in Nagpur, it's a hot temperature, and we can use this unlimited source of sunlight for having this solar energy. We have decided in Nagpur that all the executive buildings and all the government buildings all have the solar paneling, and we are having that solar energy from this, and we are trying to achieve the target of the 100%. I commit that all the citizens are very enthusiastic to use this solar energy, because we are giving the government subsidies for this solar energy to use. Then we are giving the incentives for the property tax, whosoever is using the solar energy. So many government schemes we have launched so that people will make the this provision of the solar paneling. About this, about the 100% renewable energy, I will request ICLEI also to support us, and I will say that all the cities, all the representatives, they will also support this aim. About progress, I will say that in Nagpur, most of the buildings, most of the houses, they are having this solar paneling, and we are using the electrical energy vehicles, that is e-auto we are having. So it gives a great employment to the poor people because of the electrical rickshaws. And we are using the green buses also, which are running on the biofuel. The local transport, electric buses will also, we are going to purchase electric buses for the local transport. We have the e-taxis, and just now our central minister, who is from our city, announced that there will be no requirement of the permit for the vehicles who are other than diesel and petrol. So the vehicles, the transports which are on this renewable energy, they will not have to go through the process of the permit. So some such type of drastic announcements, we will say that important announcements have done by the central government also, and I am very glad that in national government, in state government, and in local government, the same ruling party is there. So whatever schemes central government launched, they can be run through the local government with the support of the state government. So we are getting a great success in Nagpur for using this renewable energy.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you. And obviously great successes in Australian Capital Territory. Minister, can you tell us about what's next for you to actually achieve your 100% renewable energy goal? I know you've done a lot already, but what's next? What are the additional challenges and shifts?
Yeah, I think part of the success for us has been taking a long-term approach. Back in 2008, we legislated that we wanted to reduce our carbon emissions by 40% by 2020. And so in trying to achieve that, we started thinking, well, what policies do we need to put in place? And we made the decision to go for renewable energy. It will get us to the 40% target. And because of the way climate politics has been playing in Australia, we were one of the key participants in the market. And so in doing large-scale reverse auctions, we were able to generate the best renewable prices ever seen in Australia. We provided the suppliers with long-term commitments, 20-year contracts, and we will get to 100% renewable energy in 2020. So it's moving from the point of being a goal to we have now signed the contracts. The wind turbines are being built at the moment. The solar farms are already in place, and so we will achieve this goal in 18 months' time, and it's just been that. I guess similar to what you were saying about once you put the signal out there and say this is what we want to do, people come forward. They want to participate. They're just looking for that signal and that commitment, and particularly when it comes from a government, there's a degree of certainty to it and a confidence for the private sector and the developers that will actually help you bring it through to fruition.
Great, yeah, and we found with the work that we do that 100% commitment is the key, even if you don't know how to do the last bit of it, because that sends a signal within the organisation or the territory that everyone's included. And Erica, I wanted to turn to you on that topic actually. So why is it important to have an energy transition that really includes everyone?
Yeah, thank you. Just a little bit of background about Grid Alternatives. We're a nonprofit organization here in the United States, actually based, headquartered in the Bay Area, and we believe in a transition to clean energy, but think it's absolutely critical that everyone, and everyone with a big E, not a little e, is part of that transition. So we install solar electric systems exclusively for what we consider frontline communities. And let us not be confused. Frontline communities on the front lines of climate injustice are also on the front lines of all kinds of injustice. Here in the US, racial injustice, economic injustice, impacted by immigration, impacted by our criminal justice system. And so really, when you take folks that are closest to the problem, they have the greatest sense of the solutions. And so it is so critical that as we are designing policy, as we are pushing for 100% renewables, we think about taking the leadership of communities on the front lines and making sure that not they're just the tail end of, oh, we forgot about let's bring everybody along because we need to get that last 1%. You know, these are folks that should be first in line, first to benefit, and really will lift up our communities. And I think there's so much beyond what 100% renewables can do, not only for our Earth, but also for lifting up all our communities. And I think we have to think about the co-benefits of that work, because otherwise we're missing a whole bunch of the narrative. If this is really about health and about people and about jobs and about prosperity on this planet that we all share, we have to really make sure that folks at the margins are centered in the work.
Great, thank you. And let's talk about the partnerships then that are needed to achieve 100% renewable energy. Can you tell us about the partnerships you've had, how they've helped you achieve your goals?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the real benefits out of this approach is the things that have come with it. When we let these large-scale reverse auctions, we said to the companies that were bidding, part of your bid must be the local benefits you're going to bring to the equation and what you want to do to help us develop the renewable energy industry both in our region and in Australia generally. So each of the partners that we have signed up with has brought something to the table. We now have Australia's only technical training course for wind engineers based out of our higher education institution. We have now a number of major wind energy companies with their headquarters in our city. They previously weren't there before, and so they've brought both that expertise and those jobs to our city because we went out there and said, this is what we want to do, we are committed to it, and we want to have an ecosystem of renewable energy in the city. We've been able to fund a innovation hub where we've got small 1- and 2-person startups where that's been funded out of this program. And so they're coming in, those entrepreneurs, and some of the big companies that we've partnered with are seeing their work and picking it up. So it's created this whole sort of reinforcing environment. Again, through that initial decision, we didn't see all of these things coming along, but because we, took the leadership view and put it the step forward, those benefits have flowed through as well.
Great. And Kahori, the same question to you about partnerships and how you're going to explore those.
I think partnership is very crucial in terms of getting these targets achieved because there's a limit to what you can do by yourself. There's a coalition in Japan called Japan Climate Leadership, which was established about 9 years ago, and that's a business leadership. The companies who share the same vision come together, and we've been studying about this decarbonization, how to do it, and the renewable energies, and there's a study group that give out information, and that helped us a lot in terms of us forming the target and also planning to how to do it. And just not just a target, but you need a plan to achieve that target. So in forming that, it's very helpful to have somebody to support this, the walkthrough with the planning. And also this past July, all the non-state actors formed a alliance or coalition called Japan Climate Initiatives, which is started out as 100 organizations, companies, business, and other state government and all the also institutions, research institutions and all that. But now, as of today, it expanded to more than 200. So which shows that the momentum is building, and we actually feel that. And I think this is a very important step towards decarbonization of the whole nation, hopefully, eventually. But it's great to have that voice heard. It strengthens the voice that you make.
Thank you. And Secretary, can I ask the same question to you about partnerships and how you've used them?
Yes, and I think we have been involved in under 2 coalitions for the last year. We have been working with other the climate group and other organizations, mainly not in Argentina, because in Argentina we still have to move forward in the awareness of this problem and the link between climate change and the way we do the things. So still it's not so vibrant for the people in Argentina. So we need to create conscience, and so that is why we take part on the Under 2 coalition, and our governor is now one of the co-chairs for Latin America, to try to express the world everywhere in Argentina. But also we are working now with a lot of industries that are now really interested about the climate change and renewable energy, because of the world asks them to be interested in this, and also because we are living in a generation of young people that is really making this a way of their life. So that is why I think we are in Latin America like in a step forward. We are not in the same place like other countries, so we need to create first awareness. We are really focused on that because, as I said, there we don't link climate change with all what we are doing in production and everything. So it's important for us to not be alone as a state, but we need to work on this other than in renewable energy for other ways.
Great, thank you. And for those of you who don't know, the Under 2 coalition is now over 220 state and regional governments and national government endorsers and some counties from around the world. And one of the aims there is, how do you learn from other states that you might not meet through other means? So it's good to hear that that's starting to work. Let's just talk a bit about how we ensure this equitable energy transition. And Erica, can you give us some examples of how not to leave low-income communities out?
Sure. I mean, here in the United States, there are over 43 million people living in poverty, and a National Renewable Energy Lab study showed that 40% of rooftop solar potential was actually on low-income housing. And so it's an enormous potential, and a potential for jobs in communities, something that can't be done by somebody else outside of your community, can't be sent to another country. It's really work in your community, green in your pocket, green on your rooftop. And so I think when we're thinking about what does equitable policy look like, we have to think about cities, states, businesses, NGOs coming together in that partnership world to really put both lip service but also financial teeth behind making that happen. California is a really interesting example of a state that has really over time put equity at the forefront of our renewable energy policies. Our cap and trade program mandates a floor, not a ceiling of a certain percentage going into disadvantaged communities. We have, as a state, invested $1.5 billion into low-income communities and have already installed 200 megawatts of what is considered low-income solar, but really frontline communities going solar. So I think there are lots of city and state examples of how you can really design your policy with equity at the forefront. And I think a lot of folks are talking about jobs, really. And Illinois passed a really huge energy bill, and it was called the Future Energy Jobs Act, not the Future Energy blah, 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 blah. But it was really about jobs and about what kind of economic growth are we going to have in our community while we're making a just transition.
Great. And Mayor, let's hear from your perspective, so the other side of the world.
Yes, yes. We ensure an equitable energy to the citizens with all type of community. Means we have the local transport also, and as earlier I have said that e-rickshaws, e-taxis, all the vehicle transport is used by all the people in our city. Another thing is that we have the affordable housing program for the low-income group. We will say that the low-income communities. And here, as Nagpur is, our India is developing country. So many things are coming new. And in this situation, we have our Nagpur is declared as a smart city amongst 100 cities throughout the nation. So many projects are going in Nagpur. I will say that a particular area, East Nagpur, we are developing as a smart city. And under that, two pillars, area-based solution and pan-city solution. So these area-based solution which we are developing in the smart city, we have localized some area for the lower income group people. There we will going to provide them the green buildings, means houses, and government is giving subsidies for their loans. Low interest loan will be there for the poor people. We will give the incentives for the property tax also, and so many facilities we can, or we are giving them many schemes for the poor people with the government. I will say that in this manner, the low-income groups, the special areas, special houses, in that green building houses, we know that rain harvesting, solar panel, LED lights, all will be there. And the people will happy to have this because we have undergoing the scheme that those who are not having the houses, they will get all these facilities with the subsidies for those green buildings. So we are getting a lot of response for this project. And in this way, the equitable energy will be for all. Thank you.
So we've just got a few more minutes left, and I'd just like to get a really quick last comment from each of you. The theme of this conference is stepping up and asking others to do more. So we'll just come along, starting with the Secretary, come this way, and just what would you say to encourage others who are attending this summit to step up and commit to 100% renewable energy?
Well, I would say that stepping up about renewable energy is, I don't know, like the future, but not future, is now that we have to build it together. And it's an opportunity to stay together for something really good. And not only a change in climate change and everything, is possibly a change of the way we produce and live. That is a great opportunity for humanity to step forward for something greater. So this is maybe our last chance.
Thank you.
I'll also say the same thing, that all of you should involve in this. We are having the habit of conventional type of energy, but this is a new, and everybody should go for this renewable energy because this is the beneficial for our health also, for our economy also, and cost-wise also it is. It should be defined such as the people will not feel any cost factor will not affect for that. So we have to look for that also, that everybody should use this solar paneling, all the use of the renewable energy, so that all the people will have the benefits of all this.
Thank you. Erica.
I think this is a human issue, and that we have to always think about You know, what it really feels like if your kid has asthma and your neighborhood is crisscrossed by highways and you don't have the money to rebuild after it floods, and you know, you can't go to a hotel when it's too hot and you don't have air conditioning. These are about human beings and how do we put at the center of our transition humans whose lives have everything to benefit and have so much ingenuity, entrepreneurship, leadership, that if we really get behind what that mom who is trying to help her baby breathe knows, then we're all going to go places, because with her at the center, we'll all get to 100%.
Thank you.
I guess I'm from the private sector and from the company side point of view. I may be talking to more to Japanese companies than the Western side of the world, but you're surprised by how you're not alone. You're not alone with the idea. And in Japan, there's still a notion that, well, that's a minority, sort of a minority thinking for a company to stand up this far. But you're actually not. You'll be surprised with how much support and how much people who want to work with you in terms of business. So I would just say, step up, and you'll find it more amazingly not that you're not alone.
Thank you. Shane.
I think the most important part is simply setting the goal. If you've not set the goal, you cannot get there. And once you've set it, you know, whether you're in government or in a company, we've all got lots of smart people who can work out the practical steps that you need to take to get there, and it is often a lot easier than you anticipate at the beginning. And I think there's a pride that comes with it. Certainly for us as a government, our community is proud of what we have achieved, of the fact that in Australia we are the leading jurisdiction when it comes to achieving this. But whether it's, again, in a company environment, employees will take pride in these things and knowing that you're doing something that's practical, it's affordable, but you are also, through your own work in business and government decisions, making that important contribution to future generations and to the future of the planet.
Fantastic. Thank you. Please join me in thanking all our panelists for these. Great. Thank you. Thanks again to all of them. And I would now like to introduce Pierre Ramadier, the Senior Executive Vice President and Group Head of Wealth Management from the Bank of the West, who's going to come and make an announcement. He's got to battle through the chairs. You can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pierre Ramadier, Head of Wealth Management at Bank of the West. It's an honor to be here with you today with so many inspiring leaders who are at the forefront of combating the climate change. Bank of the West is headquartered in California. We provide financial tools and resources to more than 2 million individuals, families, and corporates across the United States. We are owned by BNP Paribas, a European banking group, which has included the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in its corporate objectives. I'm very pleased to announce today that Bank of the West is pledging $1 billion to finance energy transition within its US footprint. Thank you. Over the next 5 years, this $1 billion commitment will include financing for renewable and clean energy, investments and loans for cities infrastructure and construction projects that will be LEED certified, and loans to help individuals transition to electric vehicles. These new commitments align with BNP Paribas' efforts, which include doubling it's financing activities in the renewable energy sector. As a bank, we want to play an active and leading role on making a positive change on society. Ultimately, our goal is to help protect the planet, improve people's lives, and strengthen communities. Thank you to the Global Climate Action Summit for the opportunity to share today with you this announcement. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Wael Hamadan from CAN International. He's going to be talking about this strong support for 100% renewable that they've been building through their campaigns. Wael.
Hello, everyone. So, we in the climate movement have always struggled to find a simple way to represent the change we want. We couldn't find the right word that will represent the transformation needed. For us, 100% renewable energy is not just a technical emission reduction target. For us, it's a vision of prosperity, jobs, health, and security. It is the simplest representation of a world that we want that every person in the world can understand by hearing these two words, and they can get the enormous weight of the transformation needed. It is not enough to have just leaders of institutions adopt such a target, but we need everyone to own this vision for it to become true. Youth, graduates, entrepreneurs, artists, and everyone else need to join the fight. Therefore, the 100% Renewable Energy Task Force, which includes almost every organization working towards this vision, you've seen many of them here, are launching later this year a public campaign targeting people around the world to commit to this vision. I can talk for hours about it, but to give you a representation of what we're talking about and how the campaign will look like in the future, watch this video.
This is a call. It's calling for ambitious climate action.
Take action now.
With renewable energy only.
This is imperative.
Climate change is already impacting
the health of most vulnerable populations.
More than half of the world's population.
More insect-borne and waterborne diseases.
Stop energy war.
Decrease our reliance.
More energy independence.
Stop ecological disaster.
Phase out fossil fuels.
ومن أجل أيضا إنقاذ الأرض من ظاهرة التغيير المناخي.
The time to act and contain it is now.
Oil, coal,
fossil and nuclear energy
destroyed our world.
If we don't contain this menace,
to save our life
and the planet,
the future is doomed.
By working together.
It's our mission.
All of us taking individual action.
Each and every one of us.
Every resident, business, and institution.
Make a clean energy source.
We need to do more.
You can help in your own home.
We need to move further.
You can help in your community.
We need to move faster.
Come to 100% renewable energy.
Transitioning to 100%.
This is not only an environmental issue.
It's the best thing for the health of my patients.
Renewable energy is good for our health.
Is essential to eliminate 4 to 7 million air pollution deaths that occur each year.
And efficient in reducing global greenhouse emissions.
Renewable energies is profitable, creates jobs, and creates growth, but a clean growth.
The transition to renewable energy is inevitable.
It's the biggest industrial market for the 21st century.
And the most important thing that we can do collectively in our lifetimes.
هل رح تنضموا إلي لنصنع مستقبل أفضل؟
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us. And join me. Become
our 100% renewable energy champion.
Please join our 100% renewable campaign today.
Be a part
to save our Earth.
Join us in this movement
of building a sustainable future.
We need to climb protection now.
Come on.
This this first session for this afternoon on renewable energy. I hope you've seen that it's really a global movement. We've seen lots of commitments, and there's more to come after a break. So the session on zero-emission transportation will start at 2:45, and we look forward to seeing you back here in a few minutes for that. Thank you.